Hi everybody, I'm Stations Guy from RecommentedStations.com, and my guest on today's show is the Sony PS-F5 portable turntable, which came out around 1982, 1983, was known in other parts of the world as the Flamingo. I guess somebody at Sony thought it looked kind of like a flamingo standing on one leg. I don't see that, but okay. Interestingly, with this came the original sales receipt, which that item was purchased from, of all places, Crazy Eddie's. And the store was the 269 Route 18 East Brunswick, New Jersey store. And this was purchased by a Mr. Dietrich of Massachusetts. And the purchase date is September 17 of 1985, and I think that was around the year that they stopped making these, or maybe 86, maybe another year after that, but pretty close. He paid a whopping $49.88 plus $3 New York State sales tax for a grand total of $52.88. And he paid by MasterCard, so Crazy Eddie wasn't able to skim the cash off of this sale and hide it above the ceiling tiles. The customer did not opt for the extended service contract, which is probably a good thing because Crazy Eddie went out of business. But I love this kind of stuff. The more original stuff that comes with something, I just think that's cool. For a receipt to be around after 40 years or give or take, is pretty wild, and then of all places to have it be from Crazy Eddie, that's just great. Just for giggles, before I started this recording, I called the phone number at the top of the bill for information, and I got a recording that said something like, number is out of service or no longer in service, something like that, which, I kind of expected, but I figured I'd give it a call anyway just to see. If you'll excuse one of my trademark digressions. Speaking of Crazy Eddie, I have this rare guy here. It's a promotional giveaway that Crazy Eddie stores gave out, presumably to good customers. And it's a flexi disc, recorded at 33 1/3. And what's on here is a song used in one of the Crazy Eddie commercials. And it was a doo-wop song, and the lyrics were made to promote the Crazy Eddie stores. And the commercial, as I recall, was 4 or 5 or 6 guys in a bathroom in leather jackets singing this song. Why they're in a bathroom, I'm not sure, but be that as it may. It's actually a pretty good song, pretty entertaining song. Unfortunately, I can't play it on the Sony because it really isn't compatible. It's a flexi disc, it's square. It's really not going to work. So, but I do plan to play it on a future video on something. So, but I wanted to show you that because I think it's pretty cool. But let's get into things. This is basically kind of an unboxing, which I'm not sure has ever been done on YouTube before. There are lots and lots of unboxings. Usually they're of newer products, something somebody just bought brand new and is opening it up. This is new old stock. The guy I bought it from told me it was a one owner. This Mr. Dietrich guy from Massachusetts bought it, never used it, put it in storage, and then the guy I bought it from got it at an estate sale. So one thing that's interesting is this brown box, this brown outer carton or shipping carton. I've never ever seen this when the PS-F5s or even 9s come up on eBay. I've never seen this brown outer shipping carton. My guess is this is probably how it shipped from the distributor to Crazy Eddie or whatever the dealer is, and this probably sat in the warehouse like this. I'm not sure this box would have been given to the customer. I guess it may have, but more likely what we call the color box or the gift box inside is what the customer would have been given. This is in really good shape. There's a serial number sticker on here, but it just amazes me that this exists, because nobody would save this. So let's open this up, and we have inside, I'm just going to check to make sure the serial number matches, which it does. And inside is the, as I call it, the gift box, or the beauty box, which is what the customer typically would get. And then there's these 4 foam blocks that are holding it in place. So let's remove these foam thingies, and we'll pull out the inner carton, which is also in really, really nice shape. There's this cool handle, little carry handle here. So, you know, these may have been stacked up on a shelf in the store up high so people couldn't, you know, grab one and run away. And this is just in really, really good condition, which it should be if it was stored away for a while. We've got a little pull tab here to open this up. And then inside, so we've got an audio cable included, which looks to be a stereo RCA to a stereo mini plug, which would make sense because there are 2 mini headphone jacks on this. You can see it's got the original styrofoam. It's got the original bag that the product was packed in. There should be a manual or something in here somewhere. I'm not quite sure. Let me pull this out first, unless it's in the box here. Okay. So I guess it was pulled out and put in the box, in the shipping box. But this is still got the bag around it. So there's a limited warranty card, which is in mint condition. There's a, for your protection, a mail-in warranty card, which has not been filled out, also with the serial number sticker. It's got some folds in it, but besides that, it's in great shape. There's a little brush, which I'm assuming is to clean the stylus. And then there's a 45 RPM adapter, still stapled in the bag. And then there's the user manual. This guy here, which is in really, really nice shape. And as I say, it's just cool to have this kind of stuff, because I think that it's something that most people really wouldn't save. I mean, you buy something and usually the first thing you toss is the box, because you don't want it taking up space in your attic or your closet or your basement or your garage, and it can fall apart after a while. And then this stuff that comes with it, a lot of times that gets lost or tossed. But let's get to the main attraction here. Slide this guy out. And this was, as I mentioned, it was a portable turntable, which is kind of a little bit of an unusual device if you think about it, because records, I mean, they're big and they can be heavy and bulky. If you have a lot of them together, you'd have to carry them around in a case. And then what are you going to do? Are you going to bring this to a park bench and sit down and listen to it? I think there were a lot of people who would bring these to record shows, and if there's a record they were interested in buying, they could put it on there and listen to it and make sure it was in decent condition. The other unique thing about this is you could play it vertically as well as horizontally. So you could have it standing up playing a record, and I'll demonstrate that in a little bit. So this is the bag that it came in. And here is the Sony PS-F5. It's really in remarkable condition. It's very, very glossy. There's no obvious gouges or scratches. A lot of these that you see on eBay have yellowed over time. The plastic did not contain any kind of UV protection, so any kind of exposure to sunlight would yellow these. This is really just in super duper condition. This is the so-called dust cover, which You can buy online 3D print copies of it online if you happen to have one of these players and you don't have the dust cover. But this is, like I say, you could play the record this way, or you could rotate these feet like this and then stand it up like so and play the record that way. Let's just put these back, retract them just for now. I was a fan of the television show Space 1999, which I'm sure doesn't surprise you. And this always struck me as something you might see in one of the scenes in John Koenig's cabin or somewhere, because a lot of the stuff on that set was this glossy white plastic furniture, which I guess was supposed to look futuristic. It kind of, to me, it screamed 1970s, but I guess it was supposed to be a futuristic thing. But this, to me, kind of fit right in, and I always expected to see this sitting on a shelf somewhere in the background. This guy here is the record clamp. So that's what holds the record in place while the stylus plays the record. There was a step-up model called the PS-F5, and the clamp, this is manual, so you've got to manually turn it to lock the record in. The F9 was mechanized. You had a button down here, I believe it was, that you'd press. There was a clear window here with the Sony name silkscreened on it, and you could actually see the clamp rotate in and put pressure on the record, and then when you press the button again, it would rotate back out again. Kind of cool. It was prone to breakage, so in some ways I'm kind of glad I have the manual version. The F9 had a different finish to it. It was kind of a white pearlescent paint on it, so those were not really prone to yellowing because it had a different finish, a nicer look to it, really. It also, for the units that were produced and released just in Japan only, they had a FM wireless transmitter, so you could play a record on this and transmit the audio to your stereo system or radio. Set the frequency on whatever it was on here. It was kind of like the poor man's Bluetooth, because this is the day before Bluetooth. So, but that was only in Japan. They didn't do it in other countries because various countries had various rules on that. In some countries it wasn't allowed. So rather than get involved in all of those details, they did it in Japan only. The controls on here, fairly straightforward. You've got an A and a B headphone output, so you and a friend can listen. A volume control. There's the record size and the record speed. On the back, you've got a keyhole cutout. You can actually wall mount this thing. There's the battery compartment, which looks really, really nice. The terminals are nice and clean. No corrosion there. On the other side, there's DC input, so if you don't want to use batteries, you want to use an external power supply, you can do that, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. There's the all-important power switch. There's a window here that allows you to see the stylus move up as it tracks the record. There's a little red LED in there that corresponds with the rough location of the stylus to help you sort of situate where it is. You probably can't see that very well, but the stylus is in there. It's got the original Sony sticker. There's a lot of weight to this. Before I got one and I was trolling eBay looking at them and looking at pictures and advertisements, because it's plastic, you kind of assume that it's very lightweight. This has definitely got some weight to it. And I love that these controls are brushed aluminum. It's metal. It's not plastic made to look like metal. The volume control, they're all metal, which is really very cool. I love how you can deploy and retract the feet. That's nifty. So let's, I guess, fire this puppy up. Well, before I do, I said I was going to talk about the adapter. So you can put batteries in this, or I guess if you're using it at home, using it stationary, you can use a power supply. And I have here the original Sony power supply that would have been sold with this if someone wanted the adapter. It would not have come with it. You'd have to buy it separately. And this is another unboxing, if you will, because this is new old stock, so it's a 2-for-1 deal here on today's show. Just open this up, and okay, so you'll see it's still in the original baggie, and then there's a kind of presumably like a little owner's manual or something here somewhere. This guy here. A little adapter user guide, still in nice shape. The one thing about the adapter, if you do end up getting one of these, or you have one and you want to use an adapter, you don't get the original, the adapter must be center negative. The pin must be center negative. I mention that because most adapters in the US are center positive. And if you use a center positive with this, you'll probably end up turning it into a very expensive doorstop. You will occasionally find these on eBay. I was actually on there this morning looking around, and I don't think I saw any PS-F5s at all. I saw several PS-F9s, but most of them were listed as junk parts only, non-working, and quite expensive. So these guys go for a pretty penny, and they're not always in working condition, and they're not always in the best cosmetic condition either. All right, so let's pop in some batteries here. I've got some fresh AA batteries, which I will load in. Good old Rayovac. So those are in there. This has also got the little foam pressure pad, the original. It's still on there. It looks like it's got a little bit of degrading going on, but still pretty decent. So I think we're good. Now I'm gonna play a record on this. You're not gonna be able to hear it because this does not have a built-in speaker, and I don't have it. I'm not gonna hook it up to a speaker because I'm playing a record that is copyrighted music, and I don't want the copyright police to invade my home and hog-tie me and, tranquilize me and carry me out like a big buffalo or something. So I'm not going to play the sound from it. There are plenty of videos on YouTube where they play the sound. So if you need to hear it, there are videos out there that'll do it. I just really want to demonstrate its function and show it working in the vertical position. And I may need to adjust my phone to get a better shot of it. So we'll see how that goes. But first of all, I want to deploy the feet like so. And then I want to, so I've got a record here. I've seen on many of these Sony videos where people will put the record in with the paper sleeve on. And the reason they do that, and I'm going to do it, is because this area, this slot where the record goes in, is pretty much hard plastic. I mean, there's kind of a little bit of a softness to it, but not much. I mean, it's not like it's coated with felt or some soft material. It's not like soft rubbery like an earphone pad or something. It is fairly dense. So I think the point of that is so that you minimize the damage to the record. Well, first of all, let me check and make sure this is on 12 inch, which it is, because there's a little plastic nub or pin that pops out that allows the record to drop down only so far. If it were set to 7 inch, I wouldn't be able to get the record down there. So it is on 12. I'll put this guy down here. I'll lift up the sleeve, and then I will crank this to lock it in place like that. And then, so now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to exit stage right or left, whatever, and rotate the camera so it's got a better full view of this unit. So I thought it was best just to kind of stop everything, get things reconfigured and set, and then start it up again. So here we go. We've got it set to 12-inch. We've got it set to 33 1/3 speed. I'm just going to turn it on here on the side with the power button. I'm going to hit the play control here, and it's rotating, and the stylus is going to move from its rest position and go to the first track and start playing it. I just think this is so cool. I mean, Sony didn't have to do this. They could have done what everybody else was doing, all the competition at that time, and just have it play horizontally only. And there were others out there. There was, most notably, Audio-Technica had a portable record player called, it was called Mr. Disc in the US, and it was called the Soundburger in other parts of the world. And it was actually very similar, kind of a similar size and shape, but it didn't play vertically. It wasn't linear tracking. You had a tone arm that you had to place on the record, so not quite as sophisticated as this Sony piece was, but still decent. A couple of years ago, they did a reboot. They put a new one out, which has a rechargeable battery and Bluetooth, amongst other things. And then there were other kind of copycats of that. And then I'm sure you're familiar with the suitcase variety, quote unquote suitcase. It kind of looks like a suitcase. It's a record player inside. Might have a couple of built-in speakers, kind of bulky, kind of big. Those were your options. This was clearly, I think, the most advanced and sexiest out of all of them, if you'll allow me to say that. But there were other options. I hope you liked this video. I hope you found it enjoyable and interesting. This is generally the kind of thing that I like doing with my videos and on my website, recommendedstations.com. I love talking about vintage audio products, vintage music, records, tapes, that kind of thing. So you can check out my website when you have a moment. If you'd like to support this kind of thing, the videos, the website, I do have a Patreon campaign. You can sign up there. I also have a petition on change.org, which is to help promote internet radio. So if you'd like to sign up for that, it's free. Takes you about 10 seconds. You can do so anonymously if you wish. There are links down there to these sites. So thanks so much for watching. Thanks in advance for your support. And we'll see you on another episode pretty soon, I hope.